cover, there were so many mistakes in this particular book, and I found someone else who took the book from that to this.
Okay.
And
Wow.
yes, it was so many mistakes, Charlene. I cried, as a matter of fact, because I was so happy when the box arrived. And once I started looking through it, I said, oh my God, look at the mistakes. The book cover, it was just horrible. The entire experience was horrible.
And that was your
But
first project, right?
yes, that was my very first book.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to dive into book number 2. That's
Okay.
what we're here for today.
Book number 2 is No Sex in the City. Can you see it?
Yes.
No Sex in the City.
Mm.
This follows the main character, Lisa, trying to date after 2 failed divorces. So it's a follow-up to
Okay.
Lisa's dating life as a single woman in her 50s.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Hmm.
The challenges of internet dating, being set up on blind dates. It's funny, it's entertaining, it'll make you angry, you will laugh, you will cry. I feel like it's better than the first book because now I'm more comfortable in my writing. I'm more comfortable with bringing the characters to life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell
Let's
us.
talk about Lisa.
Mm-hmm,
Can you tell us a bit about Lisa? Because I need you to talk about each one of her husbands. Because I texted you and told you I dated a Derek, okay? And I was like, you know what? Something not right. And I was,
Something's not right. You immediately knew something wasn't
it,
right with Derek when you
it
start
was like
reading.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. No, when I dated, it wasn't his name wasn't Derek, but he was like Derek's character.
And
But
Derek,
it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. 1 minute you're nice, and next minute you have an anger outburst, and I'm like, what in the world is going on?
isn't that's like a roller coaster. You don't know what you're going to get from day to day. But when I'm developing the characters, like I said, I put a little bit of me in there, but I also pull from other women that I've probably met along the way. But Lisa is an insecure, unsure woman who believes in love, who believes in marriage, who wants that long-lasting marriage, but it just doesn't work for her.
Mm-hmm.
That's who Lisa is. She's a sucker for love.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because now, how do you? What are some ways we can? I guess we have to heal, but some ways that we can avoid dating a Derek. I guess tell us about Derek, the first husband. But Derek is the one that stuck out of my mind the most.
The first husband was a milder form of Derek. He was more quiet, more reserved, but very mean-spirited, very selfish, which is not uncommon for a lot of people. I think a lot of us are selfish in a lot of ways. We have to learn to be unselfish. He wanted to be a husband, but he didn't know how to be a husband. Finally, which made the marriage challenging. He pretended to like Lisa, but really, I don't really like her. But I don't want to end the relationship because what will people say? So him and Derek were similar in the way that they had images to uphold. But Derek was more aggressive. And he does stand out because he stands out more to me than the first. I don't even remember the first guy's name. You remember the first guy's name, Chantel? Derek is out there.
I don't remember his name at all.
Derek is out there. And I usually write down before I write, I will write down the names of who the person is. And I can't even remember his name. Jacob. Okay. Jacob, a trickster. Yes.
Okay. So in this new book, what is Lisa? Because this is about Lisa now, right?
Yes.
book, and that's what I'm gathering. So what is Lisa looking for? What is she trying to find now?
Lisa is trying to find her better whole.
Hmm.
Lisa wants to avoid the pitfalls of meeting another Jacob or Derek. Lisa wants someone who loves her unconditionally, not wearing a mask, but just an organic, authentic, what is the word? Authentic love. That's what Lisa's looking for now.
Hmm. I got a question, and this
Sure.
is probably the psychology of the book
Okay.
and this character. And when you wrote about her and you created her, did she have like a lot of background baggage? Was that listed in
Yes.
the book? She does. So,
Yes.
so what
Yes.
is one of the barriers that she has that keeps her from finding this authentic love?
Insecurities, self-sabotage,
Mhm. And I
believing
think
it
she acts
can
too quickly.
happen, and
Mm,
act quickly. Yes, very impulsive.
Mhm.
okay. So
And
what?
too forgiving. And too forgiving. Seeing the best in people,
Mm,
but ignoring the red flags.
That's
wow.
it.
So,
Mhm.
just give us a little tidbit on how she manages this in the next book, because she's trying to find authenticity, but has she done
It's
work on herself?
yes, Lisa has begun therapy, has engaged in therapy,
Okay.
journals, reading self-help books, talking to other couples,
Mm,
decided to be vulnerable,
Mhm.
open, take it slow.
mm,
Mhm.
Let's take it slower this time. Let's not rush into anything.
that's good.
But
Very good.
she has done the work.
Yeah.
Mhm. But you know what? I remember she started off trying to take it slow with Derek, but some kind of way, I think it was a night that they met and she went over there and it just took a turn for.
It it escalated,
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
became lustful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think I said yesterday, I shared with someone yesterday, lust is how we end up in a lot of storms in our lives. And then we cry when it rains.
You're
And
right.
that's what happened with Derek. It lust led Lisa and Derek to a very, very volatile relationship.
Mm.
Wow. Wow.
Well, you know, I can't, and honestly, I think Derek preyed on Lisa. He
Yes,
saw her how sweet she was and how
yes,
I want to say naive, maybe that's not the word, um, forgiving as she was.
yes,
And he preyed on that, I think.
yes. I
Interesting.
can see that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Interesting. So what I'm
Mhm.
hearing, because I have to admit, folks, I didn't read the books yet. So, but I'm going to read the books because this sounds really good. But what I'm hearing is that you said this earlier to us that it's a combination of some things that you shared personally, and then some things are um, from other women, the stories they've shared with you. And so I think that's really good because it gives us, especially coming out of this pandemic, something to read to be able to bring life back to some people. Because
Yes,
some people have gotten out of the dating scheme, don't know what to do now that doors are opening up, So this gives people a little bit of hope and a little bit of, possibility
Mm-hmm.
that something, my life doesn't have to be dreary, but it can be exciting.
it can be exciting. And Lisa had fun going out on dates.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go a little bit into detail with No Sex in the City. Lisa tried internet dating,
Hmm.
which is scary to some people because when I talked to my cousin about it, she was like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that because that seems too desperate." I said, "I don't look at it as desperate because society is changing. We're doing a lot. We're on Zoom now. So we're
Mm-hmm.
using computers and things now to build relationships. We bank on computers. So the world is forever changing and evolving. So she said, but what if he's a serial killer? I said, but you can be the serial killer right there on the pew beside you at church. He could be a domestic abuser right there in the supermarket. So you just do your best to vet, because it was a lot of perverts in the process. Now, I could be transparent and say I did try internet dating, and some of these stories that you will read on Sex in the City, it is me and my experiences trying to date somebody across a computer screen and actually meeting some of them in person. It's hilarious. You will laugh at some of the exchanges that I'll say me and Lisa had.
Wow.
I tried internet dating also, and it wasn't
Yes.
productive or fruitful.
Yes.
They have a lot of undiagnosed issues.
Yes, and I'm 5'9", right? And one guy said he was.
Ooh, that's right. Come on for the tall girls. Come on.
Yes. And one guy said he was 5'9" and taller. So when we met in the public space, he was 5'7". Yes, that's how my face changed from okay, high hopes to you just lied to me and you want to meet me in person. You should have stayed behind the computer screen, because now I have no interest in you. I'm 6 feet when I put heels on. And I know it might seem shallow to someone else, but height does matter to me.
It does. Matters to me too. I'm 5'9", so I know.
Yeah. So I will read. Can I read just a little bit?
Yes.
Read just a little bit. I think it was page 12 that I said I wanted to just read a little bit of the book. Okay, this is chapter 2 of No Sex in the City. I moved from Oklahoma City to Fort Worth, Texas. I'm starting over yet again. It has been 5 years since my divorce. I have prayed, fasted, sold, and repented. I repented for getting married and divorced twice. Did I feel like a failure? Absolutely. I recognize that I have to start making better choices. I have read all of the self-help books and even engaged in counseling. I have meditated and reflected on the type of men I tend to attract. Everyone has advice about why a woman is single. The women will say, you should have done this or that, or you have to talk to a man this way or that way. You have to let him sow his wild oats. All of the responsibility falls on the woman. We are blamed for who we attract or whether or not we can keep the man. I cannot and will not accept this rhetoric that I am responsible for the type of men I attract. I agree with Dr. Aisha. We cannot be responsible for the type of men we attract, but we are responsible for the type of men we entertain. We choose a man based on the type of love we think we deserve. Dr. Aisha. Ouch, that stung. I have to continue doing the work because I have settled more often than not.
That was powerful.
It was
and that goes back to what you asked earlier, Charlene, about doing the work. So that shows you that she engaged in counseling in order to do the work.
Yeah, a moment of transparency, and that that just being able to say that shows that transition of wanting something different. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So and this is for me. I've never internet dated. Okay, because I dated back in the 80s.
Okay.
80s. I've been married a long time. So so just to kind of share, because other people are watching this, okay? And I'm just curious, what is the hope for a person who's 50 and over?
Oh, I don't want to sound negative and say slim, because I am still hopeful. It's a billion people on this planet, and I believe your partner, your person can be anywhere in this world. So I would tell people not to give up. I haven't given up, even though it didn't work for me. The longest relationship I had after meeting someone on the internet was 6 months, and he morphed into something different as well. So I had to disconnect from that. I wouldn't give up. I would vet the person as well as I can. You can't control another person's lies. And that is the takeaway for me. When I go into something, I go into it wholeheartedly and with integrity, but you cannot be responsible for the other person who is deceitful. So I would tell women, don't give up and don't be embarrassed to date on the internet. I know people right now who have been married for a long time because they met on the internet and they have successful relationships and successful marriages. It's just a matter of if both parties are ready and willing to make the sacrifice to get to the next goal, which is marriage for me. I know some people don't believe in marriage in today's society, but marriage is still an ultimate goal for me. And I haven't given up on it. And I won't give up.
Okay. Now, some people haven't heard your story. Do you want to share a little bit of your story? Because that's kind of what propelled you to write, correct?
Yes.
And so for our listeners, could you share a little bit of your story? Kind of how you open up to share through your life. You've started to write these great books.
Yes. Well, after you say I do twice, loosely based off of my experiences, I was married for the first time around 24. My ex-husband and I were in the military. You know, military people, we tend to get married really, really quickly because we're all in love. So we get married quickly and we have babies. We don't really get to know each other. I didn't get to know him before here comes marriage and then here comes the baby. So that marriage lasted maybe 5 years. It was a lot of in-law problems. It was a lot of financial problems. He was very irresponsible with his money. He believed in buying a BMW before paying a light bill. So that wasn't going to work because even though we didn't grow up rich, we never missed a meal. So it was kind of scary to have a husband who could not handle his business, so to speak. Now, could I have been a better wife? Yes, I have my flaws as well, so I can't completely blame him. But I just didn't want to be hungry. I like to eat. And there were some times we were starving because he would say, you know, I ended up getting out of the military so I could be a stay-at-home mother. And things went down really, really quickly because, okay, he's managing the money. I paid the light bill. Then the next day the lights are cut off. I just didn't want to continue in that. And I didn't want my children to continue within that. And with me being a believer, he used to mock me because I was going to church and he would say things like, where's your God now? Things hasn't changed. Like he put his family before me and the needs of our own home. So I just didn't want to do that. And being that young, I'm divorce minded, even though, you know, everybody says God hates divorce. That's the scripture everybody likes to throw at you. I said, God's gonna have to forgive me for this. I can't stay in this. I cannot. We became so distant. We were not sleeping in the same room. We were not even talking for the last couple of years within the marriage. And he was staying out pretty much all night, all the time. I didn't even try to find out if he was cheating or anything. It's just, I know I'm getting ready to go. So from 24 to 20, my second marriage was around 44. So that long before I get married. And I meet a childhood friend of mine. We went to the same high school, elementary school and high school. Our families are friends. As a matter of fact, he's best friends with my cousins to this day. And that is the basis of the character Derek. We know each other. We have history, but I don't really know Derek because it's been 30 some years since we've been in high school, right? And I want a good wife. I want to be married, pretty much the same line. I'm a deacon in the church. I can't meet a good woman. He was selling himself very well. We were reading the Bible together. We were praying together. And not soon as the wedding vows were over, within the next couple of days, I don't have to read the Bible with you. It's like, but you were reading the Bible with me during the dating phase. But now I don't have to read the Bible with you. Then it became, you're insecure. The little subtle things that they do to try to manipulate and start playing mind games. He started talking about his ex-wife even more. I was like, why don't you go back to your ex-wife? That's where the insecurity came from. That's where you're jealous. You're talking about your ex-wife more than you're talking about me. You're talking about the girl on the job more than you're talking about me or even talking to me. So there goes the problems. But now nobody would believe that Derek is talking to me or treating me this way because on the outside, Derek is handsome. He's 6'2". He's a professional man, and he's a deacon down at the church. And I learned during that time that a woman has to defend her truth against a man's lie. Because even though Derek told people outside of the house, he doesn't curse. Derek was cursing me out. But nobody outside the house ever heard him curse. So would they believe that he's cursing me because he was so mild-mannered and so active, and he sold all of his tithes and everything. So that person that people saw outside of the house was not who was inside of the house. Wow. And I had to realize I chose men. Oh, and I hate to say this because my daddy might see this, but I chose men like my daddy.
And often that's how women get into these ill-fated relationships, because we go after men that we see our fathers in, if that makes sense.
And my father was distant because my grandparents raised me. My grandparents raised me. My father was distant. He was cold. He was not nurturing. He was not loving. And I chose those same type of unavailable men who were cold, who were distant. And that's where the work came in. And it didn't dawn on me until Teresa, not Lisa, started counseling. And Dr. Faith said, I want you to write a list. Your homework is to write a list of men who disappointed you. She said, it's going to be painful, but I want you to do the work. So when I wrote the list, of course, I started with my dad, my biological dad, not my granddad. She asked me who was I close to, and I said my granddad. And she said, tell me about your granddad. I said, I used to do everything with him. I used to go to wrestling matches with him. I was such a tomboy. I used to work on this truck with him. I would hand him the tools to work on this truck. Like I followed him. He taught me how to drive. He was everything to me. He died when I was 14. She said, you should have put his name on the list. Not that it's his fault because he died, but you felt abandoned by him and you never dealt with that. And I did feel abandoned by him. He was my protector from my grandmother. He was my protector from my aunts. He was my protector, and my protector died when I was 14. And we didn't do counseling back then. Right. So that was the first man that rejected me. And then to go down the list, my dad rejected me because here I am being raised by my grandparents, and he's raising another woman's children. So each time I date, I'm picking the same type of men who don't talk to men who don't show me love. To this day, my dad and I have a better relationship, but he's not a loving guy. This is him. He's very stern, and he doesn't say I love you or anything. This is him. And I chose men like that, but I don't want that for me. That I had to do the work.
Right there, yeah.
Wow. So that I don't eat with a man like my daddy. No offense, Dyson. If you see this, I love you, but I'm just saying that's just the truth.
Right.
This is so powerful.
It is powerful. It is powerful.
Because I think a lot of women need to hear this, and I think that this is a problem that a lot of women are having with the men that they end up with. They're choosing them for the wrong reason.
Yes.
They're bonding over trauma, because I remember in the book, Derek's parents didn't raise him either. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes, so correct.
It's a trauma bond, and that's not a good bond to have. So
it really is very destructive.
It is. So how can, I said it before, so how can a woman spot a Derek or a Jacob?
You know what? It's going to be difficult, and someone else might disagree with me because I've had this conversation with friends before. One of my friends was saying that the Holy Spirit leads us into all truth, which is true. But I feel like in human form, sometimes these men are so good at hiding that the fleshly part of you, not the spiritual part of you, the fleshly part of you will still misconstrue or overlook the human side, because as women, we want to see the good in everyone. Not that I'm trying to change anyone, but you want to see the good. I was taught to see good in all people. I was taught to forgive all people. So when I see people, I see the good before I see the bad. So with a lot of women, it's going to be a matter of you're going to have to assess that man. You're going to have to ask as many questions as possible. Sometimes I think it's good to talk to their friends and even their exes. Sometimes we don't want to do that. But sometimes it's good to know, why did we break up? Some women might lie, but some women might tell the truth. I'm the type of woman, if somebody asked me, because I met my first ex-husband's girlfriend, and I told her the truth about why we broke up, because he had told his story and it was two different stories, but she ended up seeing the person that I told her about a year later. And I told her, thank God you didn't marry him, because they were supposed to get married. So it's just a matter of getting to know the people that they hang around, because those Jacobs and Dereks can be very deceitful, and they can manipulate you into thinking, what is that, gaslighting? They can gaslight you into thinking that you're crazy.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you were talking. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, so it can be difficult to see. I believe this. Sometimes you don't know, and you won't know until you know. That's just what I believe. And I hate for us to have to go through it, but sometimes you won't know until you know.
Yeah. And that behavior is abusive. And I don't think a lot of women understand that is abuse.
Yes.
But I think that's also their behavior is what keeps them in a relationship, because they're like, well, everybody else thinks he's nice, so maybe something is wrong with me. No, nothing is wrong with you. It's a mental illness that he has to deal with. It's not anything that you have done. So.
And let me share this. When Derek and I separated and we were going through the divorce, another childhood friend of mine called me to check on me, because like I said, all of us knew each other, high school friends, elementary school friends. So it was the talk of Mississippi that they are going through this divorce, and it was quick and everybody was trying to figure out what's going on. And then my childhood friend said, did you not know that his dad abused his mother? I didn't know that. Wow. So that explains the reason he was verbally abusive, because he heard so much verbal abuse. He wasn't physically abusive, but he was verbally and emotionally abusive because he witnessed it at home. But I didn't know that. Even though he lived with his grandmother on weekends, when dad would come around and he would visit his mom, it was drinking. I don't know if anybody from Mississippi, but people get drunk on the weekends and they fight behind those closed doors. And he was witnessing that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I know this probably is a way off question, but I'm just curious. So what would you suggest, or what do you do now that you're dating again and you're open to dating again? What do you do to kind of check the boxes?
Well, I have I'll say the blessings to have some friends who are strong in the prophetic.
Okay.
And we go into prayer.
Okay.
I will call and tell my support group, who are made up of friends, to say, hey, I met this guy. We're all going to pray and see what God shows you and see what God shows me. And I'm not going to ignore what I see. That's been my problem. The Holy Spirit will reveal who this person is. I will say, well, he can't be that bad. And I will go forth in it. But a hard head makes us off behind.
Yeah, you're not by yourself.
But that's what I do. And it's good to have us. Don't look at all your friends. Don't look at other women as always being jealous, because we will do that as women. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for that. We will not like to share that we've met someone, because we think when people give us advice, they're being jealous because we have someone. That is not always the case. Every woman is not jealous. Sometimes people outside of the house can really see what's going on inside the house. So I would say have a good circle of friends, a good support group, and you all sit that dude down. I call him Joker sometimes. Sit that Joker down and everybody talk to him together. So it's like doing a poll of this guy. But with people you trust.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, because you know, I'm quite sure, having if you had to start all over again, I wouldn't know where to start. I
Mhm.
mean, because it's been a long time,
Yeah.
you know, just dating.
Yes.
So,
Mm.
um, but I do think that you're right. There's a lot of women who, and now I'm not saying it's impossible because I know a lot of women who, I have a friend now who recently got married, and she had been in a 21 year, I think a 20 some year
Wow.
marriage. Husband passed away,
Wow.
and she hadn't really intended to marry again, but the Lord sent her somebody,
Mhm.
you know,
Praise God.
and so it was really good. And you know, so I know there's hope for everybody.
Hmm.
I also realize that we evolve over the years from who you start out to be, you know, in the younger years, and we're different at 50,
Yes.
you know, and our needs are different, and our outlook on life is different.
Yes.
So I'm quite sure you have to check the boxes at this point. Whereas
Yes.
back in the days, as long as he was cute, you know,
Yes.
so you cared about that he was cute.
She was cute.
And he treated me right. That's what you cared about. But now I'm quite sure there has to be a lot more substance, um, and some transparency. That's what
Yes.
I'm hearing. You know, there has to be transparency. And I think I also heard, and I like that you said, is that you have to have a village in your corner
Yes.
in
Yes.
order to not only be transparent in the relationship, but transparent to the village that,
Yes.
hey, you know, maybe you can see something I don't see.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
You know?
That's necessary. That's imperative in today's
Mhm.
dating.
Yeah, yeah, that's some good stuff. That's some
It
good
is.
stuff. And what I'm also hearing is that this is coming through the book.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
coming through in the book.
that's
Mhm.
good. That's
Mhm.
good. So
I
this
am not tooting my own horn, but I really think from after you say I do twice and no sex in the city, you will see a lot of growth in Lisa. And somebody, you can be single, married, divorced, or dating, you will see yourself in both of these books.
Mhm.
awesome, awesome,
Mhm.
awesome, awesome,
Well,
awesome.
I'm
I want.
quite sure somebody dated a Derek or Jacob or one of these characters in No Sex in the City.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I wanted to say, is there going to be a follow up to No Sex in the City? Or Lisa gets married
Yeah.
again?
You know, if that happens, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
But right now, I'm just waiting on the feedback. As you all buy the book, do me a favor and leave a review on Amazon
Okay.
as you purchase the books. That helps to promote the book. But I would love for Lisa to meet someone, and if she doesn't, she'll create a beautiful love story as if it actually happened. That's the beauty of being a writer.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring characters to life, or you can write things as if you wish they would have happened, or as you hope they would happen. So even if it doesn't happen, I'm not against writing a beautiful love story that Lisa met this man in the French Riviera.
That's nice. That's
Well,
nice.
let me
Well, just
ask you this.
okay.
What if your husband or your mate, and you know why I'm asking you, nobody else does, has children under the age of 18?
No, ma'am. No,
But what
ma'am.
if that's really your
Now,
soulmate?
God and I, that's what.
What if that's your soulmate? And that's why you haven't met him,
Well,
because he has
can I
children.
be transparent for
Yes,
no
ma'am.
sex in the
Please,
city?
please, please,
So you
please.
all would know when you read this portion of the book, you would know it's the truth. Because I work for Child Protective Services and I see so much, I call it unnecessary drama, not so much as abuse and neglect, but we deal with a lot of custody. We deal with a lot of people who call in reports on each other in their line. children will make up stories on the girlfriend or the boyfriend. And I don't want to deal with that, Chantel and Charlene. I feel like my children are adults. I will date someone if the children are 18 and over, because I don't want CPS knocking at my door saying I sexually touched anyone or that I spanked somebody or hit somebody's child, right? So I don't need that extra drama. So everybody knows I say I don't want to date anybody with children 18 and under. So a few years ago in my dating, I met a guy and he's in his 50s like me. And I wasn't thinking. I'm thinking he's in his 50s. His children are same age as mine, right? Weeks into the conversation, I finally say, how old is your daughter? Because he talked about his daughter, right? He said 3. I said 1, 2, 3. 3? I said, you're 52 with a 3-year-old? That like scared me. Everything changed in me at that moment. I was like, oh no, what happened to her mother? Mother passed away. I said, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I said, I can't do this. I cannot date a man with a 3-year-old. He was like, why? I said, I don't want to be the mother of a young child. And I told him the same thing I just told you. I can't have CPS at my house. And so my family was like, Teresa, her mother is deceased. That girl can grow up to love you. I say, but she has grandparents who might not like me, because he was Hispanic and I'm Black. So that could have been another dynamic with Hispanics not liking me. Not saying all Hispanics are prejudiced or racist, but that could have been a dynamic. And it could have been, okay, she did this to my granddaughter. I just don't want all of that stress. And I pray that God is generous when he sends my soulmate, that the children are not 18 and under. That's my prayer. So I would really struggle if this man came along and it's like, hey, I'm from God, Teresa, and his child is 7. I would really struggle with that. And I'm just being honest. But that part, so if you buy the book and read it, you'll know, and you'll probably end up laughing because it's really hilarious at the exchange we had, because I was like, I can't date a 3-year-old. It messed me up. I was like, no. And so I stopped talking to him.
Wow.
And he was rich. He was rich.
And I asked you that because, you know, I always see you posting that on Facebook. So I said, let me mess with her and ask her that, because I already knew. That's why I asked you that.
No. If I turn down a rich man with a 3-year-old, you know I'm serious.
Yeah, wow. That's something to think about.
It is. Because I understand why you say that, because you know we work for the same agency. So I truly understand what you mean about the drama. And I don't want to date anybody with children under 18 either. But I have a 9-year-old. So you know, I can't be too
But you know your own child.
Right.
You know your own child.
Yeah.
So that's different.
Wow, that's interesting. Interesting. Yeah. You know, I was thinking while you were talking, Teresa, have you ever thought about having like a discussion group of the Lisas in the world?
I really have. That would be really, really nice for women who are not ashamed and who would be willing to be open and transparent, because it helps. For me, I'm not ashamed of my experiences. I'm not ashamed that I was verbally abused by, I won't say his name, but by my second husband. I endured verbal abuse, and that was difficult for me because back to my granddaddy and my grandmother, they did not call us names. So I did not grow up being called names, and to get married to somebody who will call you names, that was a shock to my system.
Wow.
So, and I know it's other women out there who are probably dating someone right now that's calling them names, and they're trying to hold on to that man because somebody else is telling them that he's going to change. But what if he doesn't change? You're going to waste so much time with that joker when there's possibly somebody else out there for you who won't call you names, who won't be degrading and demeaning towards you. When I think of a man, I have 6 brothers. I have 2 sons and 3 grandsons. I'm surrounded by men. My brothers are respectful. towards me and of me. So are my children. My sons have never cursed at me, not called me anything other than mama. And it sounds strange when they call me Teresa. I'm like, what? Did you just call me Teresa? It sounds strange, right? So to date men who don't think highly of you as God's gift to him, we don't deserve that. And
right.
I look now, within the first month of dating, there should be some changes.
Yeah.
And if that behavior is disrespectful, as much as you like him, run. That's what I tell anybody, run. Because you don't want it to get worse.
Right. Because it can escalate to
It can
physical
escalate.
sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not home, maintenance men. Like, we don't need Home Depot projects. And I'm not saying all of us are going to be 100% healed, because I don't believe we are 100% healed until we are with Christ. As long as we're in human form, we're all going to have some sort of struggle.
Right.
It might not overshadow us, it might not overtake us, but there will be a struggle. But you want to find that mate that balances you out. You know what I mean? And I haven't given up hope, and I don't want a woman to give up hope. I am so passionate about women being treated correctly. Like, I'm a woman's woman, not gay, not homosexual. I want to see my sisters in healthy and loving relationships. We deserve that much. The world is cold. And the last thing I want to do is be mistreated at home.
Yeah.
Home is to be my sanctuary.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think that whole idea of iron sharpening iron amongst women who can relate to one another, I think is awesome. Because I think what you're saying, I think a lot of women hide behind and are really saddened by the fact that they're alone because they can't find anybody, or, they have to resort to online dating, or, not being able to, I don't know, be attractive anymore. I don't know what it is, but I just think the whole idea of being able to start maybe a group that says iron sharpens iron, with one another. Here I am, I'm able to be transparent. And I think your book opens up that door.
Yes.
Your own transparency has opened up a door for that. And so it's definitely something to be considered, because I'm sure when people start reading this book, because I didn't read it yet, but I'm eager to read it. I want to hear what happens to Lisa. I do. I'm eager to hear what happens to Lisa. Okay. And just to know that somebody else is living this way, she's a sister living this way, and being able to, find hope. And honestly, I'm gonna add this piece to it. As a therapist, just being able to hear that side, and I haven't experienced it, but being able to hear that side helps me also to look at things a little differently.
Yes, I agree.
See the other person's perspective.
Wouldn't you say Lisa is resilient? I'm sorry, we were talking at the same time. I'm sorry.
Right.
What'd you say, Chantel?
No, I said, what did I say? I don't even remember now, but I'll think about it. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I was saying, isn't Lisa resilient? Chantel has read the book. You haven't, Shirley, but when you read even the first book, you will see her resiliency. Like, she does not let anything keep her down for too long. Right. And that's how we have to be as women. We can't let a breakup or a divorce keep us down for too long. Go through the pain, go through the process of healing, but you get right back up, dust yourself off. I'm not saying get right back into the dating, but we can't let that emotional pain drown us and consume us. We have to choose to live regardless of what has happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I also
a
new hope for yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
But I also wanted to say that I think it was good that she didn't stay in that marriage too long. She realized. I think we're freezing because I didn't hear you. I couldn't hear you talking. So I think that's what's why. Or maybe I froze. Well, go ahead, finish.
I think you froze.
Okay, that's what's going on.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
I think you froze. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But Okay, all I was saying was that I just think that, what I'm hearing in the book is that out of this, that's what Lisa gained. She gained some self-love for herself,
Yes.
you know, and because that's why I asked in the beginning, was there some things that were going on in Lisa's life? But I think after these two experiences, and I'm quite sure there are others in between, but she was able to find herself and
Yeah.
realize, and that's I'm kind of hearing what you've kind of based the next book on, that she's found herself.
Yes.
And when she found herself, now she's trying to renew herself,
Yes.
and she's to live again, and that's what I was saying, that a lot of times when what we don't do in our community a lot is we don't sharpen, iron sharpen iron. And sometimes we don't take the time when we learn lessons to share those lessons that we learn in order for someone else to, you know what, you don't have to go through all of this because I went through it for you. So let me share with you what happened,
Yes.
and because I share the message of marriage. I've been married a long time. And so when women tell me about like marriage is not good and marriage is not this, and I tell them, you know what, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. Nobody's
Yeah.
perfect,
Right.
and when you decide to stay and you decide to commit to, even when the bad time comes, you decide to stay and commit, that's even a growth spurt. That's a growth period,
Yes.
So
Yes.
just being able to do that, and just being able to share that with others, I think is poignant. And so I think your book sounds fabulous, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you so much.
excited. I'm excited. So I'm going to be getting this book. I'm going to be getting this book. Yes, I am. I'm going to get
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Yeah.
It
But you
was.
summed it up. You summed it up very well. Thank you for that.
Oh, you.
Yes, the book is very good. I recommend everyone go out and get it. And I was just saying that even though Lisa was with Derek, she realized pretty quick of who he was. So I just want to tell women out there, sometimes you have to go through something to realize who you are. So don't discount the lessons that you learn.
Yeah.
Don't count it as a failure because it was a lesson.
Yeah.
And Lisa is better off now. So
It was a lesson.
yes, yes. So
Yes.
yes,
Go Lisa.
yes. I can't wait to get this other book.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell the people how
Yeah.
they can get your
Yeah.
book.
Sounds good.
Can y'all hear me?
Both books can be ordered on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay.
This one is $12.99. This one is $19.99.
Okay.
But my website is not up yet. It's under construction. So when the website is up, you'll be able to order from me, because I like to autograph and mail them out to people.
Oh, awesome.
But right now,
how long will it be before your website comes up?
we were working on it last night.
Okay.
Yes, we were working on it last night.
Good. Well, we'll keep checking out there. And why don't you post on, once your website comes up, why don't you, and I'm kind of stepping ahead of myself a little bit, but Chantel, I hope this is okay. Once your website is up, post it on What's Troubling You.
Okay.
And then the readers, people will know, because we've done this segment, and people who are going out to our YouTube page, they will also know, because they're also some of our followers from What's Troubling You on Facebook. They can know to, hey, go out there to our website. And, and so if you do that sister thing, I think I want to, even though I'm not single, I think I want to join the sister thing just to talk.
Well, you will be more than welcome. Your professional insight will be very, very useful and helpful. So that's a good idea. Thank you. But that's how the Holy Spirit works, because that is something that I wanted to do. Just had not taken the time. That's like I'm so passionate about women loving self. And then find that love that's going to be there for them for the lifetime, for as long as God will allow you to be on this earth. I'm so passionate about my sisters not being mistreated. I'm so protective of women. I have kept catch myself sometimes
Mhm.
when I hear women talking about how they're being treated. It's something that rises up in me. I call it that righteous anger.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like, okay, I'm not going to tell you to leave, but this is what I'm asking you to do. And then as your eyes are being opened, you will see him for yourself, because what I'm seeing is this monster over here. But on the flip side, I don't want to always attack men, because there's so many resources out there to help women. We need resources to help men so that they can become better as well.
Yeah.
Because if all of us continue to work on ourselves, we're still going to end up with a Jacob or a Derek.
That's right.
Our William in the new book. The William is the new Derek, so to speak. So we're going to end up with someone like that, because if all of the teaching and the preaching is geared towards women and the men are left uncovered, we're going to end up with those wounded men who don't know how to love us correctly. So we need someone to get out there and to start teaching and covering the men as well.
That's good. That's good.
That is very good. So
Well,
I just want to thank you, Teresa, for coming and being on What's Troubling You today with us. And I just implore everybody to go
Thank
out
you
and buy
for
both
having
books.
me. I really did.
I enjoy you every time you come. And so we are about to close. Did you want to say anything before we close?
No, I thank you and Charlene for having me on. I hope you all will run out to barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com and buy the book. And if you want to talk to me about the book, you can email me at lexi2dmt@yahoo.com. If you just want to tell me that you like the book or didn't like the book, I would appreciate any feedback. And I would tell any woman, don't give up. If you are looking for love, don't give up, but you don't give in to the wrong type of love.
Correct.
So I want you to have a healthy love. Okay.
All right, we got it. All right, thank you, Teresa.
Thank you so much. And you
Thank
were
you.
awesome.
Thank
We
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right. Take
All
care.
right, have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.